Better Them Than Us, Part 2, page 132. Henry sprinted through the crowd, unnoticed in the chaos, searching for Keiko's family, worried that his scuffle with Chaz may have blown his one chance to see her. He knew the direction they were headed, but inside the station there would be any number of trains to board. He thought of the people from the Kaka restaurant, the ones who were caring for the belongings of that Japanese couple. He'd heard his mother mention others. Chinese families who took people in hiding them. They had to be a chance. With each step he plotted how he would convince his parents. Would they take Keiko in? Their first thought was to protect themselves, then others in their own community. He'd have to make them understand somehow. How could they not? Father was closed-minded, but knowing soldiers were herding thousands of people to an unknown destination, an unknown fate, this would change everything. How could they sit back and do nothing when this many people were being taken away? When they could be next? Henry ran past a mountain of luggage. Trunks, bags, and suitcases stacked almost as high as the roofs of the silvery buses that rolled by. Families were arguing about how much or how little they were allowed to bring. The excess found its way to the top of an ever-growing heap. Next to the mound was a truckload of confiscated radios. Giant Philco consoles and small Zenith portables with bent wave magnet antennas were piled up in the back like discarded shoes. Across the street sat Union Station, a courtly-looking mass of red brick, its thick iron awning held aloft by massive stretches of black chain and anchored to the building. Above it sat an enormous clock face, 9:15. Time was slipping away. From the steep marble steps of the station, Henry looked out over the swirling seas of people, clusters of families and loved ones trying desperately to stay together. The occasional lost child cried alone as soldiers marched by. The rest were packed like cattle, group by group, and were being checked into 4 large passenger trains. Bound for where? Crystal City, Texas? Wanamuco, Nevada? So many rumors. The last one had them bound for an old Indian reservation. Henry spotted the hat again, one of many to be sure, but the walk, the gait, it looked like her father. Sprinting down the stairs to the ground floor, he half expected a soldier to stop him, but too much was going on. Get them on board, make them leave, now. That was all that mattered to those in uniform. Henry shuffled around the grown-ups, some standing, others sitting on their luggage looking frightened and confused. A priest said a rosary with a young Japanese woman. Other couples took photos of each other, smiling as best they could before exchanging hugs and polite handshakes. There he was, Mr. Okabe. Bruised and out of breath, Henry felt the side of his head start to hurt. The defeated old gentleman who turned around had a wide mustache. Henry's disappointment was punctured by the ringing of a porter's bell. For the first time all morning, Henry stopped searching the crowds and crumpled to his knees, staring at the dirty tiled floor. She's gone, isn't she? Henry? He turned, and there they were. Keiko and her family. Her little brother making airplane noises with his lips. They smiled, each wearing an identical hang tag that read, Family Number 10281. They seemed delighted to see a face that wasn't going to the unknown place they were. Henry scrambled to his feet. I thought you'd left. He looked at Keiko, her family, not wanting them to go. I brought this. Wear it, and they'll let you walk out of here, he said, and put the button he'd retrieved from Chaz into Keiko's hand, pleading to Mr. Okabe. She can stay with us or my aunt. I'll find a place where she can stay. I'll get more. I'll go back and get more for all of you. You can have mine. Take it, and I'll go back and get more. Henry's heart raced as he fumbled, trying to take his own button off. Mr. Okabe looked at his wife, then touched Henry's shoulder. Henry saw the flicker of a chance in their eyes, just a chance. Then he watched it slip away. They would go, like the rest. They would go. You gave me hope, Henry, Mr. Okabe shook Henry's small hand and looked him in the eye. And sometimes hope is enough to get you through anything. Henry let out a deep breath, his shoulders drooping as he gave up trying to remove his button. Your cheek, Keiko's mother asked. It's nothing, Henry said, remembering the scrapes and bruises from his scuffle. Mr. Okabe touched the hang tag dangling from his coat. No matter what happens to us, Henry, we're still Americans, and we need to be together, wherever they take us. But I'm proud of you, and I know your parents must be too. Henry choked on the thought and looked at Keiko, who had slipped her hand into his. It felt softer and warmer than he'd ever imagined. She touched Henry's shirt where his button was, the space above his heart. She smiled with a sparkle in her eye. Thank you. Can I keep this anyway? She asked, holding up the button he had given her. Henry nodded. Where are they taking you? Keiko's father looked at the train that was nearly full. We only know they're taking us to a temporary location center called Camp Harmony. It's at the Puyallup Fairgrounds, about 2 hours to the south from there. We don't know. We haven't been told, but the war can't last forever. Henry wasn't so sure. It was all he'd known growing up. Keiko wrapped her arms around him and whispered in his ear, I won't forget you. She pinned the button reading I am Chinese to the inside cover of her diary, holding it close. I'll be here. Henry watched them board the train, herded in with dozens of other families. Soldiers with white gloves, batons in hand, blew whistles and pointed as the doors closed. Henry lingered at the edge of the boarding area, waving goodbye as they pulled away from the station, disappearing from sight. He wiped warm tears from his cheeks, his sadness diluted by the sea of families waiting for the next train. Hundreds of families, thousands. He avoided eye contact with the soldiers as he walked away, thinking about what he'd say to his parents, and which language to say it in. Maybe if he spoke his American, he wouldn't have to say anything at all.